Ian McNally, I'm the Assistant Principal for Behaviours and Attitudes at St Benedicts Catholic High School. I think this is an ongoing challenge. I think AP provision is very limited. I think local authorities are finding a challenge because of the amount of students who are actually requiring it. So places are very hard to get. They're also exceptionally costing, and costs can spiral quite significantly from there. So it's very limited, and it's very hard to get a child into AP provision when the need is, because that can happen exceptionally quickly. Children can spiral, and they need that support very, very quickly. So there's very limited opportunities out there, and also a very high cost as well. I've not seen of any in-house training that I've seen of quality. I've seen some people who don't have the experience, maybe a football club, who've tried to use that, but it's not been successful as what I've seen from Nulogic, who are actually education driven, not driven by profit. I think throughout education, certainly in the last couple of years, children are becoming a lot more challenging. They have a lot more things to overcome, and I think there is a greater need for AP provision, which is limited. Support is also limited and costs excessive amounts of money, and also it's basically teachers' time and the impact on teachers and the quality of teaching within those classrooms with those students who are challenging but need that support, which is essential that we are giving those support to those students to make sure that they can finish their journeys at St Benedicts. I think it was a joint provision. We looked at it from almost the Magnificat. We had two schools in a local vicinity, which we looked at which was the best site to actually house it. And then we could actually support two schools. So ourselves and our school within our academy, St Augustine's, are using it to the best of it can. And we've got students from both schools accessing it, which meant it reduced the costs actually to our academy of sending students to external providers, which was becoming excessive, and those places are very, very limited due to the demand from outside and the reduced resources from county. Yeah, I think if you're looking at some alternate provision for one student alone, you can be looking at £10,000 for just one student. Through that, we can hit maybe 5 or 6 students, and by joining with other local schools who can come in and use the resource as well, it means it becomes affordable. The biggest cost that we have, though, for any AP provider within the county is the cost of travel, where you're actually looking at maybe £100, £200 a day just for travel on top of the cost of £10,000. So some places you're looking at between £12,000 and £15,000 for an AP provision, whilst that can be provided for maybe 4, 5 or even more students if you actually within the school setting, which can be managed effectively. So it is potentially financially a better way to move forward if you're looking within your academy or several schools working together. Yeah, I think if we just look at a few individual cases, we've got one student who was permanently excluded from 2 schools, reluctant to come into education. We've actually placed our AP provision on a Monday morning because we think it's essential for those students have a good start to the week, and then it will hopefully follow on throughout the week. This student presently, he's had 2 permanent exclusions, several exclusions last year. He's only had the 1 suspension, but his attendance has actually moved from 49% to 94% through the first term. So the impact is very big on that student. Other students, we've got several students who've had multiple suspensions, who've had less or none at all. So it's actually looking at impacting. And one thing that is very key is the good start to the week we see on a Monday when those students have their sessions. There is a massive increase in the quality of teaching within the school by removing those challenging students, and also ensuring that they're getting a fair one-to-one process. So the impact is massive. We've got students who potentially, every student who's actually involved has their attendance above 90%, whilst if not all of them, or one student were in persistent absence at the end of last year. Relationships are key to any learning process from there. Relationships are superb. We've actually had our mentor come in who's in charge of teaching and learning to actually observe the actual staff with their relationships. And the first thing she said was the relationships between the students was outstanding. We've actually used them as well when we've had a couple of students who are dysregulating, and the actual students listened to the Nulogic staff before the school staff, and they actually helped and supported staff there, which is really important for us, because sometimes they can actually reach out to students which teachers can't. So I think that's an essential role, and the relationships is the key to the learning. It's the key to those students actually coming in, attending school, because the attendance of those kids who are actually in on a Monday is much better than throughout the week from there. So it's a good start to the week. Again, relationships between staff and the staff at both sides, Nulogic, and is strong. There's that strong kind of commitment. We have a meeting every morning when they come in just to say, right, he's not had a good week, or there's a student struggling, can they just drop in for a session today? The staff are always open to that as well. They will also inform us if there's been any issues or any concerns with any of the students within any of their sessions, and obviously any safeguarding concerns are passed straight away. But it's essential that we have that communication. Communication with Aaron from the start was very, very strong, but the gents who actually deliver the sessions are superb. We touch base at the start of every day, we touch base at the end of every day just to make sure everything's okay and any problems that they've occurred from there. So it's all been very smooth, and that's key from there. Yeah, there's a couple really. We've had students who are at risk of permanent exclusion, who've turned it round. They're into year 11 now, so we want to make sure that their journey continues right the way through to the end. And those students have done really well. We've had one student whose attendance was 49% last year, which is now above 90. And this student had 2 permanent exclusions before he was directed to us. The relationship there between the staff is very strong, and we think that's the bedrock of that student actually being in school. We've had students who are actually school refusers, where the team have actually gone out to meet them. And we've also had them going out to meet students who have been permanently excluded from another school, are due to come in with us. And Aaron's gone out and actually done a transition with that student to try and get them back into school. So I think that's essential. So some real good positives there. You know, I think if we look at the attendance of all the students, it's really high. They're in every single Monday, even when they're ill, they're dragging themselves in, which is important. But also the reduced amount of suspensions with those students. It hasn't wiped them out totally, but it has reduced those suspensions quite massively within those students who are at risk. I would definitely get them involved. One, because it's high quality, that you can monitor the quality of the provision. Secondly is cost. It does reduce the cost of AP provision massively. It reduces those transport costs. Also, it's accountability. You know, rather than a member of staff having to travel 20 minutes to go and check out an AP provision, check the safeguarding, you've got them on the school site, so you can control it. You can see what's happening on a day-to-day basis, really. You know, where often that communication between an AP provider, external, and a school can be a little bit sporadic. We only tend to hear stories with AP providers externally when things go wrong. We don't see the good stuff, which you're seeing on a regular basis. We have staff who are on call and they're popping in to check in on the sessions, and they're always reporting that the standard of those sessions and the relationships and the behaviour of those students is very strong, which does make a difference. But it's important that liaison happens quite regularly.